This is the Last Picture Show with Rahim Khan, and today I am reviewing Sisu Part 2. You've got to give it to this movie, to this franchise, now that you also have a second entrant in the series, that for a pittance, for a song, they've been able to make movies out of a country besides, what was it, Aki Crewmaster, I'm forgetting the name, the exact name, the Finnish director. But besides a handful of directors and films that have come out over the years, they've been able to, with this movie, stake a claim in at least the action narrative. It's almost akin to the raid coming out of Indonesia. I mean, one would have never expected, despite the fact that, of course, Indonesia does have a very rich martial arts tradition, but you would have never expected that a Welsh director, Gareth Evans, would go to Indonesia and sort of, along with people like Iko Uwais and other Silat practitioners, would go on to make one of the greatest action movies of all time. The same thing goes for Finland, and the first movie that we got a couple of years ago with Sisu. One would have never imagined that a movie so balls to the walls, so white knuckle, would come out of this Scandinavian country. There it did. And now, sort of like, off of the success of the first movie, we now have Sisu Part 2, in which the title character is joined by Avatar veteran and Stephen Lang. When I say you've got to give it to a movie like this, I mean, it was made for $12.5 million. On big budget movies, the likes of Superman and whatnot, franchise movies, tentpoles like that go on to spend anywhere from $150 to $250 million. $12.5 million is, I think, maybe like their catering budget or something like that. It's not something that puts a movie together. But here, the Finns are doing it. And I was going to say they're doing it very well. Yes, with Part 1. With Part 2, it's again, I mean, sort of like, the curse of the sequel. How does lightning strike twice in the same place? It doesn't. How do you take a winning formula, a movie that was unique, an action style that was also unique, and a story that, again, was also, you have a legendary Finnish soldier having lost his family, becoming a gold miner, and he takes on the Nazis. This time around, it's quite different. We have Sisu. Well, of course, that's what is his name? Again, I apologize to all of the Finns who may be watching this or not watching this, but I can never. Your names are very interesting, and I can never pronounce them. Perhaps my name's interesting to you. But you have the lead character, who has now returned, or is trying to return to his home that is now being sort of like, consumed by the USSR. And he wants to sort of literally, piece by piece, dismantle his old home and take it back across to Finland, where he can somehow reconstruct. Of course, those responsible, or at least the person who is responsible for the death of his family, is in a gulag somewhere in Siberia, and he's called back into service to finish the job. The plot's pretty straightforward. You're not going to expect many twists and turns in this. The strength of movies like this is almost entirely based on its set pieces, right? One action scene after another. Unfortunately, I happened to catch the trailer for this movie. And again, for those of you who are regulars to this channel, you know that I do not watch trailers, exactly because all of like the major set pieces in this movie are revealed in the trailer. And again, it's hard to avoid in the cinema when you're sitting there. And I mean, sort of, you can't cover your eyes and ears. People are going to think, I don't know, bomb's going to go off or something, and you're the culprit. So unfortunately, whatever surprises there were in store in the second part were done away with in the trailer. And whatever momentum that the first movie had is unfortunately kind of missing in this movie. At least for, I would say, the first half. You have, like, you know, again, he goes across into the border and, you know, he has, it's the first fight scene. Then it's the one, what's it called, where he's in his truck. Then it's truck versus plane. Then, you know, it's okay. So you have several action scenes, all of them, of course, building up to a finale. So, I mean, if you were to break it down just by sort of action scene itself and to rank those, then I would say that the first, I would say 2 or 3 of them are kind of weak. Like the first one is pretty cool. I mean, like, it's what you expect from Sisu. The motorcycle one isn't as good as I had expected. Just because, I mean, like, sort of, it's just, we've kind of seen this done before, and I mean, done a lot better. I mean, sort of in Mad Max Fury Road, by George Miller. So, I mean, sort of when you are sort of going, sort of pitting vehicle against vehicle and sort of having that sort of road rage taken to the max, you've got to bring something new to the table. Unfortunately, this really didn't. The truck versus the planes, the Stukas, if I'm getting that right. Or were those Stukas German? I'm sorry. That was really interesting. I mean, sort of that was far-fetched, but then a lot of the action in this movie is far-fetched. It sort of borders on the absurd, but that's perfectly okay. I mean, sort of, if we can stomach and even cheer for the kind of stunts that they do in Fast and Furious, then we can most definitely do that for Sisu. Then we come to this crazy one, which I don't think, which meets, no, actually surpasses the kind of, you know, stuff that Fast and the Furious does, and just takes it to a level that I just, it had me cracking up. Call it a spoiler if you will. I mean, I hate to do this to you guys, but there's this, you know, after being blown to, well, almost like he goes off a cliff in his truck, and then he sort of salvages like his cargo, and then he finds himself an old Russian tank, and he rigs it up in this sort of very Mad Max fashion. And I didn't expect this. I thought that now that he's in a tank, this guy is just going to sort of drive straight through the checkpoint, the Soviet checkpoint, and like literally crush them, because he turns it into this like chariot of death where you have flame coming out of the sides, and he rigs it up with explosives. And I was like, okay, this is going to be like a tank battle, something to sort of rival the Battle of Kursk or something, you know? But instead, he gets the tank to do a somersault. It's amazing. It's not something I expected to see this year, but yeah, that's definitely going to go down as this crazy scene, which, like a tank doing a somersault. He does it so he can get across the border without having to, I guess, like kill any more people. How noble of him. Of course, cutting to the chase. Should you guys watch this in the cinema, stream it, or skip it? If you get the chance, definitely watch it in the cinema, because the cinematography in this movie is just beautiful. I mean, I had assumed that at first this was Finland where they were shooting this, but no, this was actually Estonia. Oh my God. These large vistas, these almost sort of painting-esque landscapes, beautiful, beautiful. And I mean, a lot of the scenes, especially what's it called, with the planes, I mean, real eye for capturing stuff, sort of on the wide screen. So definitely check it out in the cinema if you can. The first half, of course, is pretty slow. If not, stream it. After that whole stunt, the death-defying somersault in the tank thing, he's of course captured and taken prisoner by the sinister, vile Stephen Lang, who you all know has it coming to him. I'm amazed. I mean, sort of, there are times when the character reminds me of Hugh Jackman in Logan, when this guy is just punished and abused, and like there's just like sort of at one point just like, please, for God's sake, put him out of his misery. But that's not that's not the Sisu spirit, is it? I mean, the Sisu spirit is to sort of persevere when all hope is lost. And that's what this guy does, which leads us, of course, to our final set piece. And I would say the very best part of the movie, because that is just, it's exactly what I wanted. It is that kind of sort of, again, wacky, Looney Tunes-esque type of action, but with a lot of blood and guts and gore and some really inventive action scenes. I mean, there's that one bit when he's just like mowing down people with like, twin machine guns. And it's I'm sorry to say this, but it's kind of beautiful to see. But what really takes the cake is that last scene where he rides a rocket, literally. I remember in the first movie when he goes up against the plane. In this case, he sort of rides this rocket, and it's amazing. In conclusion, it's not as good as the first, but it is a testament to budget filmmaking. It is a movie that, again, free from the constraints of what Hollywood has maybe put on action movies. It is allowed to just be itself and experiment and again, I mean, sort of create a Finnish voice in acting. That's not something that you would have ever expected from this country, but good on them. And if there's ever a chance for a third installment in this movie, I'm here for it.